Psychic medium Frank Chodel is an internationally recognized psychic medium. His numerous books, classes, and seminars bring together his expertise in teaching and decades of experience, along with his love for paranormal research and investigation. Uh, he first became aware of his abilities when he was only 8 years old. He was identified as a deep trance medium by the late Lorraine Warren in 1975. Since then, he's been delivering profoundly accurate and meaningful messages for people around the world. He has a bachelor's degree and two master's degrees and is or was a professional art photographer in his business life. He's been observed by psychologists, parapsychologists, and paranormal researchers, and has done readings and compassionate liftings of trapped entities. Uh, these have been for individuals and groups in private homes, historical inns and hotels, battlefields, and cemeteries. In the liftings, he helps trapped spirit to become fully transitioned to union with the source. They no longer are bound by pain, fears, or anger that may have troubled them before. In his presentation, he'll show um, how dowsing relates to paranormal investigations, divining, psychic pursuits. He'll extol the virtues of cooperation between dowsers, paranormal investigators, and mediums. So enough of me talking. I present psychic medium Frank Chodel.
Thank you, Tick. I really appreciate that, and welcome everybody. And I look forward to speaking with some of you here tonight, and hopefully in the future as well. Um, as Tick mentioned, I've been doing this since I was 8 years old, and so for over 30 years now. Wait a minute, that's more than that. Anyway.
Just one or two more.
Yeah, a few more than that. Uh, so, uh, but yeah, it's been my calling, my life to work with entities, and in fact, my vision statement for the work that I do is compassion versus confrontation. Um, as Tick mentioned, I got to work with Lorraine and Ed Warren from Connecticut. If you're familiar with their work in The Conjuring and Amityville and other presentations like that, but my work kind of diverged from theirs in that when I go into a situation, into a scene, I go in looking to see what can I do to help? What can I do to heal? What can I do to set these trapped entities, these souls, free from whatever is holding them here? And as mentioned, I've worked with paranormal investigators for many, many years. And now, in fact, I teach a course on paranormal investigating. I'll talk about that toward the end of the presentation. But uh, and I like to do paranormal research. I like to go in before I start, you know, doing my work in. I don't call them casting out or uh, house clearing or cleansing. I call it lifting. Uh, the other terms are very um, aggressive. They're very confrontational. And if you go looking for a battle, you're going to find a battle. Set your intention of help, healing, and compassion, and you get a completely different result. So that is my life's work now, and um, everything that I've done before that is kind of led up to and built up to this. And I do have some slides I'm going to run through here so that we can kind of keep on track the best we can. And so let me go ahead and do that. And there we go. Okay. And what is paranormal investigating? Well, paranormal investigating is not what you see on television for the most part. That's a lot of theatrics, a lot of um, you know glitz and show. Okay. Uh, you'll see a lot of confrontation in a lot of the shows where, I'm going to cast you back to the bowels of hell where you came from, blah, 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 blah. Uh, and that really doesn't speak to what paranormal investigating really is. Okay. It's trying to find out what is going on. What do we mean by it's divination? And what is divination? Okay. Divination is the search for truth and knowledge, for gnosis, for understanding what is going on. As a paranormal researcher, as a psychic medium, um, and all of you as well, we're looking to find answers. We want to get a solution. We want to get closure. We want to find out what's going on. Whether you're looking for water to sink a well, whether you're looking for entities in a residence or a structure. Okay, we're looking to find out what's going on in paranormal investigating. Okay, uh, we're looking for several things here. Okay, ghost hunting or investigating. Okay, the first thing we try to do is to find out the physical causes for what we're dealing with. Okay, and that can have several different physical causes of things like noises and images and what have you can be caused by a lot of environmental reasons. Okay. Inside a structure, it could be pests, mice, squirrels, bats, raccoons, anything like that in the walls, in the attic. Uh, if you've got mice, you might have snakes. If you have snakes, you might have, and so on and so on. And all of those critters will scratch and gnaw and chew and make noises that can be very discomforting to people within the house. Okay, as the sounds come through the walls, they tend to amplify a little bit, and they kind of change the tenor of the sound, so it can sound very different from what it actually is. Other things that can cause disturbances: old plumbing, rattly pipes, heating systems, especially radiant heat, makes a lot of noise. Faulty wiring. If an older house still has knob and tube wiring, or it was grounded improperly, or whatever in upgrades, that can cause uh, crackling sounds, noises that can cause all kinds of things, which also can be a definite fire hazard. So I think those want to be checked out. But squeaky floors, squeaky door hinges, drafty windows and vents, old appliances, even new appliances. My wife and I just got a new refrigerator a few months ago, and the owner's manual has a whole section in it on what kind of noises you can expect from the refrigerator as it's cycling through the defrost and all the different things that it does. Um, and my thinking is, hey, we just bought or got a brand new refrigerator. It should be quiet, but no. So all these kinds of things can cause disturbances in the house. Outdoors, other factors can cause disturbances as well. Overhead utility lines, especially high tension power lines, um, give off a lot of radiation, electromagnetic radiation and fields. And that can cause headaches, dizziness, rashes, it can throw off your electronic devices, cause your household lighting to dim and glow and fluctuate back and forth. So a lot of things can be caused by that. Soil toxicity, things like mercury, arsenic, lead in the soil, uh, that can give off substances that can cause you to have rashes, burns. Radon can cause cancer, um, uh, get dizziness, depression, exhaustion from those types of things. Lead paint or asbestos. We know from today that many, a lot of houses back in the 1950s and 60s used asbestos siding, so the house was fireproof from the house next door. Ooh, yay. Problem is, so many of the people who installed asbestos back then ended up with a type of lung cancer called mesothelioma. And, people die from asbestos inhalation. So these are things we want to really watch out and look for first. What physical anomalies can we eliminate? Can we mark off our checklist before we start going looking for the metaphysical or paranormal reasons for disturbances in the house? Okay. Okay. These are some of the tools that paranormal investigators use for checking out those disturbances, some of those disturbances. Up here in the corner are in the second from the left. This is called a K2 meter. And the K2 meter is a very popular tool used by a lot of investigators. You'll see it on a lot of the TV shows and the like. And what it does is it reads electromagnetic field. Okay. Electromagnetic field is the buzz around things. Okay. As humans, we emanate an electromagnetic field. It's measurable. They can uh, actually charted on a graph. Okay. What the K2 meter does is it looks for variations or fluctuations in that field. Okay. And as the level of the um, EMF goes up, the color of the lights goes from a green up to red. Okay. And so you have an indicator of changes. If an anomaly, if an entity, a spirit entity, also gives off radiation, electromagnetic radiation, if they come close to the meter, the lights will change. And so you have an idea that there's something there. Down on the lower left corner here, this is called a Mel meter. And what the Mel meter does is basically the same thing as the EMF or the K2 meter. It reads the magnetic fields, but it also reads changes in temperature. So if the room or ambient temperature goes up or down by several degrees, it will indicate, it'll tell you, hey, we've got something going on here. There's an anomaly. In the center of the frame here is what's called the REM pod. And you see this in a lot of the ghost hunting shows. And the REM pod also has uh, EMF detection and temperature fluctuation detection. And it uses lights and sounds. So as energies get close to the pod, it'll start to light up and it'll give you sounds if you want and noises to let you know that something is there. Okay. Over on the right-hand side of the screen here, this is called a tri-field meter, and it reads magnetic fields, electrical fields separately, and also reads radio frequencies. If you live near a cell tower, okay, uh, a like a 5G cell tower, those signals from the tower can also impact your electronics in your house. If the levels are high enough, they can actually cause you to start feeling dizzy, get buzzing in your ears, get heart palpitations, anxiety. So a lot of different things can happen from these magnetic fields and radio frequencies. The tri-field meter reads those uh, frequencies, those fields, in digital numbers that you can then scale. And as you go around a room or check different areas, check the wall for power surges or what have you in electrical lines in the walls. You can check all those things with the tri-field meter. Again, getting an actual readout of the field that you're dealing with. Okay. Uh, Dowsers have a lot of the same tools and techniques, believe it or not. They're just uh, configured a little differently. Okay. Yeah. For dowsers, of course, you have the L rods, the Y rods, the bobber, the pendulums, and other tools that you use for finding energies. Whether the energy again is coming from water, minerals, other sources, electrical lines, that type of thing. Um, the dowsers are using the same principle, and the one of the big advantages that dowsers have over modern paranormal investigators is that the dowsing tools don't require batteries. And that's a big plus when you're working around magnetic fields in particular. Okay, a lot of the electrical equipment, electronic equipment, and I've run into this myself on many occasions. Batteries that brand new batteries or fully charged batteries go in, and in 5 minutes they're dead. Nothing. Okay. So I always carry a big box full of batteries out in the car so that I can, change things out quickly. And the amazing thing is, too, though, that when I get back home after an investigation with this other box of dead batteries, I put them on battery testers and almost all of them are fully charged. Okay. It's just that the magnetic field blocks the battery. It's like it puts a cap on it and says, nope, not going to take any of that. Well, dowsing tools, divination tools, divining rods, if you will, don't need batteries. They get their charge, they get their energy from you. Okay. The dowser in contact with the tool is what connects and makes that circuit from whatever source you're searching for. When you go in, when you start your investigation, you say, okay, my intention is to look for water. This person needs to sink a well. I need to find water. So you go out with the rods and you look for, and again, you're creating a circuit through the earth, through the ground, into the water, back up through yourself into your tools. So you become the final link in the circuit, the battery, if you will. Okay. So that is a huge plus. Okay. You don't get a digital readout, but you definitely get a read. Okay. Okay. And things that dowsers can look for, okay, in a paranormal investigation. Outside, again, we want to always start off looking for physical anomalies before we go in looking for paranormal. Okay. Hidden water lines, especially PVC lines. A metal detector can't detect a PVC line. So they do no good whatsoever. Uh, and underground streams. Again, a metal detector isn't going to detect a stream underwater, but your rods will. Okay. Gas pipes or emissions. If there's a leak in a gas line, there may be gaseous emissions around the residence. Okay. Again, the dowser can find those. Okay. Underground or overhead cables, mineral deposits, radiation. Okay. EMF, RF, and gamma radiation. Gamma radiation is what you look for with a Geiger counter. Okay. If you live anywhere near a nuclear facility, that becomes a huge concern, whether it's a power plant or whether it's a university research center. Okay. If they're using nuclear powered devices, there may be radiation, gamma radiation leaking out into the surrounding atmosphere or area. Um, and it's usually in such a low dosage by the time it you know, gets into the was it aerosolizes into the air. It's usually so low that it's not going to be totally, usually that serious. But it's good to know if it's there so you can keep an eye on it. Okay. Indoors, again, detect hidden water lines, gas pipes or emissions. Radon is very popular, especially in southern homes, and you want to watch for that. Freon is another one. That's what you have in your refrigerators, freezers, and air conditioners. And household central air conditioning. I know from my own experience in the South that they don't last forever. The lines get weak, and every once in a while you find out you've got no cooling whatsoever because the freon is leaked out. And where did it leak out? Did it leak out into the house or outside and dissipate? Uh, and Freon is a very heavy gas that can cause a lot of serious, serious illnesses. And if inhaled too much Freon, you can suffocate from it. Okay. You won't see it, you won't smell it, you'll just collapse. So these are things that you want to watch out for. And then once we do get into paranormal investigation, this is where dowsing tools, divination tools, can really be effective. Okay. Detecting the presence of spirit energies. Okay. Taking your rods. Okay. And simply asking, are you here? Okay. Now, of course, I am manipulating these rods to make them, move where I want them to move. Normally, of course, you don't want to do that. But are you here? Yes or no? So yes, no questions are very easy to do with simple L rods. Also, Y rods, bobbers, and things like that can also give you yes, no responses. Okay. Um, the L rods can also point to location and direction. Okay. Is it over here or is it over there? Where am I picking up the energies? So that can be, again, very helpful in determining where to do further investigation. Okay. Also, we have, of course, pendulums. Okay. And okay, with a pendulum, you can use the yes, no. There it is. Okay. Use the yes, no circle. And I got this from the Letter to Robin, which is readily available to all of you. Okay. And here we've got, of course, we've got the up, down for yes, left, right for no, and diagonally for, I'm still thinking about it. So again, asking questions. You want to be careful that you frame your questions so that they can be answered simply with yes or no. Um, if you ask something like, how soon will I get that promotion at work? Well, obviously, a yes no circle isn't going to give you the opportunity uh, for them to give you numbers like that. A more detailed uh, circle chart here. Okay, this gives yes, no, but in degrees, and so you can get is it a strong response? Is it a mild response? And how is this affecting? I like to use a round spirit board. Okay. And spirit boards have been around for hundreds of years. Most people are familiar with, of course, the Ouija boards. And a Ouija board is a spirit board. Okay. Uh, Folks, Ouija boards are not haunted. They're not possessed by demons. Okay. Uh, they only reflect back the energy that we put into it with our intentions. Okay. Spirit boards, as I said, have been around long before Milton Bradley came out with, the commercial ones. And this is a circle spirit board or a round board. And again, it gives you the yes, no. You've got that on here. Okay. You've got, uh, let's see, unknown, maybe, try again. The days of the week around here. You've got the alphabet and numbers one through zero. Okay. And so you can ask more detailed questions with a spirit board and a pendulum than you can get with just a yes no movement. Okay. Now, something that I have found that I like to do, again, holding up the pendulum, okay, is it really, are you doing this or is it idiomotor reflex that you're not even aware of that's causing you causing the pendulum to move in a way that you predetermined? Well, I came up with a very high-tech device that I use along with the Circle Spirit Board, and it's called a coat hanger. Uh, I put a little hook on the end of it, and I hang the pendulum from the stand. Now, this stand is for a shorter cord, but still, and then put the circle underneath it. But by taking my hands off the pendulum, by setting this on a table or surface, okay, now it's not my hand moving the pendulum. Uh, well, skeptics will say, um, well, you're causing it, and there's breezes and there's things causing the pendulum to move. Okay, come up with a solution for that too. Make a simple dome to mount your pendulum on. Okay, set the circle board underneath. Okay, again, set this on a flat, solid surface so that the pendulum can settle down. Then ask your questions. If a spirit entity chooses to respond, they can move that through the plastic very easily. This, by the way, was made from a container. I think it was caramel popcorn. So I got to enjoy the popcorn and made myself a nice little device. Again, these are ways to kind of offset uh, not just skeptics. Skeptics, I love. I love skeptics. I get irritated with cynics. Okay. A cynic is somebody who isn't skeptical. They just say no, period. Okay. Without any other, um, you know, um, questioning or investigation. So cynics, I have very little patience for. Okay, so but what I want to do now is I want to take a few minutes and Tick, if you'll come on, if and see if we have some questions from our viewers today, and that I can answer directly. Okay.
Okay, well, Patty says after taking his own life, B came through me, is doing well, um, and intuitive suggested that he wasn't really happy. Eventually, B acknowledged that he was very remorseful, not only for taking his own life, but also how he treated others, including me in this life. I listened and recorded his messages for family members. Then I am happy to report I was able to help him see the light and go to the light.
Oh, that makes me feel great. I have worked with a lot of suicide victims over the years, and um, a lot of times they didn't mean to do it. I had one young lady whose brother uh, was reported to have committed suicide. And it turns out he was playing with a gun in the upstairs bedroom just as his father was pulling into the driveway and the gun went off. He didn't think it was really loaded or that it would actually fire. And um, but it was reported as a suicide, and the family grieved and they felt terrible. What was he going through that was so awful that he would take his own life? And as it turned out, in this case, it was an accident. By bringing that information to the family, it brought so much relief, so much closure, not only to him, because now the truth was out and he could rest and make his full transition, but also to the family because they could let go of that whole stigma of the suicide. Um, so, yeah, getting that closure, and that's what we're going to be talking about in the next part of this presentation, is why are entities here? What do they want from us? And how do we approach, different types of entities? Okay. Next question.
Yeah, Lindsay B has raised her hand. Do you want to speak with her?
Okay. Okay. Lindsay, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi. Okay. What's your question?
Um, I'm currently an intern or a practicum student, um, and I'm supposed to be getting hours from a certain supervisor, from a supervisor, and they haven't yet. I'm about halfway through the semester, and I've got about a third of the work done because they haven't really assigned me very much. I guess I'm curious about if I can stay at this site or if I need to look elsewhere. And I've dowsed a lot about it and gotten different answers. So thought
Well,
your energy is amazing, by the way. I mean, just beyond amazing.
thank
It's
you. Thank
incredible.
you. Um, well, I'm gonna go back to what I said about paranormal investigating. That first we look to the physical before we go to the metaphysical. Uh, have you gone up the chain of command? Have you gone to the dean, to the whoever is over that school, to voice your concern and say, hey, can can you help me here? I really need to get my hours in.
No, no, I
I
have
think,
not. And
yeah, that would be your first move. It, what you might want to douse on, rather than, you know, should I stay? Should I go? Should I do this? Should I do that? Is this the right path for me?
hmm,
Okay.
hmm, hmm,
Yeah. How is this affecting me? And is this really where my heart is? And if it is, then by golly, I'm going to stick it out and do whatever it takes. But uh, if there's another path, then I can start searching for that. But for now, what can where? How can I fulfill myself?
okay,
Okay. Does that
okay.
help?
Yes, thanks so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, let's go ahead and get one more question in. We'll have time for more later on, but let's get one more in here.
Abigail asked, and there were a couple of portal questions, so I figured that'd be interesting. How do I determine if my land holds or home holds a portal? And what can you do to close it?
Portals. I get a lot of question about closing portals. Uh, First of all, we have to understand that source or heaven or universe or whatever isn't up there. Hell, Hades, the underworld is not down there. It's all around us all the time. Uh, when we speak of portals, we're not talking about jumping across the galaxy to another planet through a wormhole. We're talking about simply making a connection to an energy, to a force, to an entity, and do we want to have this connection going on? Uh, when I talk to people, I do mediumship reads for clients. Um, their loved ones are right there. They're not up in space somewhere or off, in the universe. They are right there, right next to them, right with them, hugging them and holding them. So and they didn't have to come through a doorway to get there. They're there. Boom. Um, Once they've made that transition, as long as they're not earthbound, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. Um, but as far as portals, you're not closing the portal or opening a portal. You're opening or closing yourself. And there is a program that I offer. It's called Quieting the Persistent Voices. And in my broad study groups that I hold on intuitive abilities, the first thing I teach my students is how to turn it off. How to say no. I call it 10 easy steps to a good night's sleep. So you can, you can say, I'm not ready for this now. My physical body needs to sleep. I need to do my work. I need to concentrate on this. I can't deal with you right now. And how do we learn to, I call it finding the metaphysical light switch on the wall. Okay. So I can go and I can flip that switch and say, nope, off. No, I don't want any contact. This is how I was able to get through uh, uh, some sites that I'll show you here in a minute, where there were literally hundreds and thousands of troubled entities in one concentrated place. Turn it off for now. And then once you know where that switch is to turn it off, you can go back and turn it back on very easily. Okay. At any time under your control on your terms. Okay. Nothing can come to you that you don't allow at some level, consciously, subconsciously. At some level, we allow this invasion, if you will, of our privacy. We can also say, no, no more, not now. I'll tell you when it's okay. And again, if you go to my website, and that information will be at the end of the program, go to my website. You'll see that there's information there on quieting the persistent voices, it's called. Okay. If you can't find that there, simply email me and I'll get the information to you on that. Okay. Does that help?
Thank you, Frank.
Okay. 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 Well, moving on. Okay. Let me get to the next question that comes up when we talk about entities. What are ghosts? What are they? Why are they here? What do they want from us? What do they need? Okay. And how do we deal with them? Okay. Because once start looking for entities, you're going to find them. They're everywhere. They're all over. Okay. So if you want to make a contact, a connection, it's good to know what you're dealing with. And these go by a lot of different names. We've got guardian angels, guides, ancestral spirits, ghosts, specters, whites, Iber, the Magid, poltergeists, evil spirits, demons, the Debuk. There's, all societies and civilizations have had names for things they didn't understand. They couldn't see it, but something was going on. All of a sudden, the crops failed, and it's either God is angry with us or there's a demon spirit causing this to happen. Well, things happen. Things do happen. Okay, as far as demons. It's important to understand that the word demon does not mean an external entity that's hell bent on attacking you. Demon comes from the Greek word daimon, which means an internal conflict. It's something that we are dealing with internally, and that we need to work through. We have our demons. They are not an external force. Okay. And so early people, they didn't understand a lot of these concepts. Okay. Philosophy, of course, there was, Aristotle and Socrates and Plato and, all the other great philosophers through time. Usually only the very learned people knew what the philosophers had to say. The average people were farmers, uh, shepherds, they were fishermen, they were not educated. They didn't. Most people didn't read, so they had to come up with ways to explain what was going on. And again, what we don't understand, we tend to fear. What we fear, we get angry about for making us feel afraid. When we get angry, we tend to lash out. Okay, so we have to break this cycle of I've got to attack. I've got to attack. I got to attack. No, we have to solve problems. Okay. Okay. I break down the earthbound entities into 5 groups. Okay. The first are earthbound because they don't know they're dead. These are probably the most tragic. They're very confused. They don't know what's going on. They may have died, suddenly or unexpectedly, catastrophically. Maybe they were asleep. Um, or unconscious for other reasons. Maybe it was a coma or state, or anesthesia, or other, substances that can cause unconsciousness. And during that unconsciousness, a person dies. Then the person wakes up, or so they think. Okay, and what happens is they're going, Mary, I'm right here. Can't you hear me? Hey, Bob, I'm right in front of you. See me? I'm right here. And they're not getting any response, and they don't understand what's going on. And it is the confusion and the stress is tragic. Okay, in working with these entities, what I try to do is to say, look, I know you're hurting. Okay, the problem is you died. It's over. Your family is gone. All of the people you know are, may also be gone if they were way back in time or whatever. But it's time for you to move on and to go to source, go back to, the other side, to get full closure, so that you can then be free to come back if you want to, in full and true spirit. Okay. This is a picture of Pompeii, the city of Pompeii in Italy, that was destroyed in the year 79 by Mount Vesuvius. And my wife and I were there a few years ago. And by the way, Vesuvius is active again. Um, the city of Pompeii, when it was destroyed, was actually a good sized city. It was about 30,000 people. Okay, it wasn't just a tiny little village. Two-thirds of the people escaped. They were able to get to a safe distance. But that left over 10,000 people who died within 15 minutes. That's a situation where I come into an area where there's thousands and thousands and thousands of entities screaming, help me. If I didn't know where the wall switch was to turn it off right then, I'd go crazy. It would wipe me out. What I do afterwards, and when I'm in a good solid place, then I can say to them, here, let me help you. Let me see how many of you I can help to transition and to make that move. Okay. Second group, earthbound because they died suddenly or violently. They may know that they're dead, but it happened so fast that they're not ready for it yet. And so they're still hanging on. Soldiers, people in car accidents, things like that. This is a cemetery in North Carolina. It was built by the Confederacy during the Civil War, and these were trench graves where Union soldiers from the nearby battle prison, were buried when they died. Well, most of them when they died. Unfortunately, the conditions in the prison were so terrible. Disease was rampant. Of course, their injuries, their infections, and what have you. So many of the soldiers were so close to death that the Confederate soldier staff, prison guards, would just simply throw them on the wagon because they're too far gone to deal with, as it were, and they were literally buried alive. The few trenches that you see here hold over 6,000 bodies. And of those, probably close to 1,000 were not dead when they were buried. Here again, the screaming and the moaning and the crying was deafening for me. And trying to help these people and say, now it's time to lift. Now it's time to go home. The next group are earthbound because they have unfinished business or because they feel a sense of responsibility. They're they made a promise in life that was so strong that they can't let go until that promise is fulfilled. Or they built a house and it was the family house for generations, and they stay there to watch over, to make sure that that house is a good, safe, loving place for the family, or they don't want things moved around because that's where I put it and I want it there. So here again, um, they've set themselves, determination to stay until it's resolved. This was a cabin up in Tennessee, up in on Smoky Mountain. And when I got to the cabin up on the mountain, I went to the door and immediately felt a sense of welcome back to a place I'd never been before, at least in this lifetime. So I set up my camera in the doorway on a tripod and took a couple of pictures. And on the picture on the left, you can see there's a little bit of a misty cloud in the upper section. You can see where that is. Okay. In the next frame, that cloud has moved and it's also now a little more um, defined. Okay, we've got orbs here or circles that look like heads and more of a body. But the thing is, when you're doing spirit photography, and I want to touch on this a little bit as a photographer, um, it's important to take more than one shot because you don't want somebody coming back and saying, "Oh, that was dust reflecting in the sunlight, and so it's just dust particles," uh, and that's why you got those things there. Okay, well, by taking more than one shot, these two shots were taken about a second apart. Again, on a tripod, it was click, click, and this thing was moving through the building. Um, and you can see the sunlight is shining down, not up. So it would not have reflected off of dust particles to create that kind of an anomaly. And if it were a reflection in the lens, sunlight on the lens of the camera, the glass elements, the halations or reflections would be in the same place each time because the camera didn't move. So getting shots like that again, video is great because you can actually track the movement. Here's a shot, another ghost hunting shot. Okay, I had investigated this in the Carolinas, and the second floor of the inn had a restaurant, and they had reports of tables and chairs moving and a piano playing on its own and things like that. So we went to investigate, and nothing much happened when we were inside the building. Once we got out, I took a couple pictures of the exterior of the building, and if you look at the picture here on the left, in the lower right corner of the window is a smudge. There's a light behind it, but there's something in that window. So I blew it up, and if you can see here, we've got a face. There's the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the hair, okay? Clearly a face in the window and the light behind, okay? Well, this is the interior of this same window. On the right is the interior. And if you look, there's the lantern. Here's the lower left corner now of the window would be the frame the face was in. But check this out. It's a stairwell. If there were somebody with her face in that window, she'd be 12 feet off the floor. Okay. 100 years earlier, the house was remodeled due to a fire, and the stairwell that was on the left side of the room was moved to the right side of the room. So more than 100 years earlier, this was not a stairwell, it was flat floor, and this is where the young girl would sit and watch for her parents to come home. Okay, so again, we want to have some research, some documentation, but get more than just one shot. Okay, the fourth group, earthbound, because we won't let them go. We are emotionally dragging them down. We either love them so much that we can't live without them, we can't let them go, or we detest them so much that they don't deserve, to rest, and we're not going to let them, sleep. So we have to resolve our own conflicts, our own demons, in order to release them and let them go on and get their closure. Okay. The last group are those who have fully passed over. They have gone to source. They've gone back. They've made contact with the Akashic records, if you're familiar with that. Okay. I hold in my hand access to the sum total of human knowledge and understanding. Okay. Let me get out of here. Okay. This is all human understanding and knowledge. Right here, it's called Google. Hey Siri, tell me what's going on. Tell me the answer to. And I can find most answers. The Akashic records are the sum total of knowledge, gnosis. They encompass all knowledge, not just human, from all sources, all planets, all planes, everywhere. And so once an entity fully transitions, they have access to all of that. We come into this life, this physical life, so that we can experience the concepts that they understand in uh, in spirit. Uh, but they can physically experience. What does it feel? Okay, I understand the concept of sadness, but what does it feel like to cry? I understand the concept of elation, but what does it feel like to laugh? So this life, this physical life, gives us the opportunity to experience in 3 dimension what we are learning in concept. Okay, so how do we know when they're around? This is a big question. Okay, this was an inn in Western New York State, and where a mother and her infant child both died tragically. Okay, and these two orbs appeared on the stairway just as the owner and I were getting ready to go upstairs to do some investigating on that level. But how do we know when they're around? Unexplained noises, voices, or footsteps. And when I say unexplained, it means we've already tried to find physical answers. We couldn't. There were no physical reasons for it. Scents and smells, grandma's perfume, grandpa's cigar, okay, things like this that, oh, I know who that is, okay. Objects moving on their own. I have actually had, investigations I've done where objects have flown across the room. I've had light bulbs explode in the house, um, and all types of physical things like that. Things, objects that you set your car keys down, and then you go do some things, and you come back to you get into your car to go to an appointment. Where's my keys? I know I put them right there. I know I did. I always put them right there. And you look all over and all around, they're not there. You check your pockets, you check everything. You go back and to the bedroom, you look in the laundry bin because maybe it was in your other clothes. And you're searching frantically for these keys. And you go back to the kitchen again to get your car to look there again. And there the car keys are exactly where you had put them. They'll do that. Apportations, they'll move things and then move them back. Okay. Doors opening and closing on their own, lights turning on and off or dimming, shadow figures, something in the back, out of the corner of your eye, orbs and apparitions, whether it's just an orb or it's a full body apparition or anything in between. The feeling of being touched, pushed, or scratched. Okay. All of these things, these are ways that entities try to get our attention, and they do a pretty good job of it. They want to let us know they're there. Help me, help me, help me. Resolve my issues so that I can fully transition and I can go to where I need to be. Okay. So I'm going to take a few more questions now at this point. Okay.
Okay, Frank, thank you. Zaid asks, what type of entities cause possession, or do they cause possession, and what are involved in exorcism?
Okay. Possession is a form of channeling. Okay. Uh, Typically, you're allowing an entity to come through and to use you as its vehicle for communication of some sort. Okay. Unfortunately, when people don't know this is happening, they haven't allowed it consciously. Then that sets up a lot of conflict between the living person and the entity who's trying to channel through. And exorcisms, uh, I'll tell you, every single case study that I have researched on exorcisms, they've had to go back a second, third, fourth, fifth time. There's a minister in Texas who brags that he's been to the same house 20 times. And I'm like, dude, you're doing it wrong. Okay. If you've got to go back that many, if I have to take my car back to the shop 20 times for the same problem, I'm finding another shop. I should have done it long before. Okay. Uh, when you go, again, when you go into a situation with the intention of casting out and throwing back to hell, and I'm going to whatever to get rid of you, uh, you're asking for a fight. And as I always say, if you go into a bar looking for a fight, you're going to end up in the parking lot on your butt. You'll find what you're looking for. So instead of treating these, situations as a possession, treat it as a unwanted channel. And how can we turn off the channeling? And this requires assistance. Someone like myself, and there are psychic mediums like myself all around, all over the country, who do work with compassion instead of confrontation, and the results are dramatic. Uh, it actually helps the person and the entity both find resolve and resolution, and then applying techniques. I a lot, help the person to put in that, that block, that turn off that switch, so that it doesn't occur again. Um, and in over 60 years of doing my work, I have only one time had a person call me back and said, it didn't work, you need to come back. And it turned out that it was physical, electrical problems causing her issues and not an entity. So, but as far as the entities, again, compassion weighs out. It really does solve the problems. Okay, next question.
Thank you. Laura Jones asked, um, are entities more prevalent at night? She has night sweats and nightmares almost every night, mainly related to her mother.
Okay. That is nighttime. We are more relaxed. We're more open. We're more susceptible to things happening. That doesn't mean that the entities aren't around all the time. Your A lot of your television shows and movies, they'll do their investigations and their all this stuff at nighttime. Ooh, why? Because the infrared night vision cameras are really dramatic, and it it plays well. But you can do it in broad daylight just as well as you can at night. The reason we are more susceptible is because we are going into that dream state. Okay, we're dropping down in our brainwave activity and becoming more open and susceptible to anything coming through. Um, of course, there is also sleep paralysis, okay, which is more common in adolescents and teenagers and young, early 20s, um, than it is in adults. But it does happen to people throughout, and you feel like you're stuck there and you can't move, and I can barely breathe, and I can't speak, and I can't. How can I get out of this? It's terrifying. I've had that myself when I was young, had those experiences, and again, we can deal with it. We can learn to work with that. I will tell you that meditation before you go to bed, a good deep meditation can really, really help. And in that meditation, again, you set the intention for a good night's sleep. You say, I want to relax and sleep. And you ask your guides. We all have guides, whether we are aware of them or not. They've been with us before we were born. They'll be with us after we leave. They are always there and with us. Okay. Ask them to help you get through the night, and please watch over me, protect me, and keep me safe for a good night's sleep. And it takes a little practice, but in time, you'll be amazed at how easily you drift off. You'll go into sleep easier. You'll sleep deeper and more soundly, and you'll wake up a lot more refreshed because you will get clearer, cleaner sleep, sleep duration. Okay. Next question.
Yes, Allison wants to know, what about the souls of animals?
Souls of animals. Ooh, great question. Thank you. Uh, Pope John Paul II, in one of his encyclicals, spoke directly to the sanctity of the spirit and the souls of animals and the sentience of their souls. Uh, Animals, I get animals coming through a lot for people, and they come through once an animal passes. Uh, for whatever reason, whether it was illness or accident or in some cases euthanasia, um, it's done. They aren't bound by a lot of the psychological um, torment and turmoil that we put ourselves through, and they cross over much more easily. And I've had, in fact, a dog of our own who was. Uh, wasn't able to walk, had to be carried out to the bathroom and outdoors, and it was just uh, it was miserable. He was not going to get better, and he was not a happy puppy. Uh, it's, 17 years old. So, but unfortunately, we had to have him put down. Well, the moment he passed, I saw him running off into a field as happy as a puppy has ever been in its life. The joy, and I get this a lot from other people. Their animals come through, and I just did a reading about a month or so ago for a woman, and the first thing I saw was this large dog, and the dog was happy and jumping and just a week earlier she had put down her dog because it couldn't move. And knowing that and seeing that and hearing that made the owner feel so much better. She was punishing herself for putting her dog down, and the dog was saying, "Thank you for releasing me." So yes, animals come through a lot. They definitely have emotional sentience. They know who you are. They and they can share with you and express themselves to you to make you help you feel better too. Okay. Okay. I'm going to move on to one more thing here in the presentation, and I want to talk about ethics. Okay. Uh, the ethics of any type of energy work is extremely important. And I have 8 points that I've put together here that I want to go over quickly before we close.
Okay.
First one, always make sure that you are emotionally and physically in a stable place before you do any kind of work, whether it's dowsing, whether it's uh, uh, mediumship, whether it's healing work, whatever work type of energy or spiritual work you're doing, make sure you're in a stable place. Set your intention first. Avoid stimulants or intoxicants. Make sure you're well rested and relaxed, and avoid or set aside your personal stresses. Don't take your home personal problems to work. Leave them at home. They'll be there when you get back. Okay. You can deal with them later. Number two, never offer services or consultation without permission. All in mediumship, we call it ambush reading, where you go up to a stranger and say, "Oh, I got a message from your grandma. I gotta give this to you." Okay. You've invaded an extremely emotional, private, painful part of their life. And believe it or not, they can have you arrested for assault. They'll usually just walk away very angry and you know, leave me alone. What you don't see on television when these psychics go up to people on the street is that their producers have already talked to these people. They went, and in fact, they had to get a whole bunch of paperwork signed, releases, and all kinds of things signed before they could show their face on television. The people who don't sign the forms are the ones whose faces are blurred out. Okay. So when it looks like that the psychic, um, came up to somebody, confronted somebody on the street, totally random, they didn't. That is staged and edited. So never, ever, ever do that to a person. Always identify yourself first. Who are you? What do you do? Then you might say, if they are interested, I have got some information you might be interested in, and I'd love to do a read for you if you're willing. Then if they say yes, go for it. If they say no, it's over. As soon as they say no, it's no. There is no maybe, yeah, but It's over. Done. No, thank you very much, and go on. Um, Also, with the entities themselves, ask their permission. Are you here? May we talk? May we communicate? How can I help you? Okay. Never misrepresent who you are or what you do. Okay. Be honest and forthright and upfront. Um, I lived in North Carolina, in Winston-Salem, by God, North Carolina, the buckle of the Bible Belt. And as a psychic medium, there were times I was terrified. But I still let it be known, this is who I am, this is what I do. Okay. Um, so I didn't want to misrepresent and say that I'm anything that I'm not. Okay. Never be afraid to admit when you're wrong or that you just don't know. Okay. It happens. It's okay. No medium or psychic is 100% accurate. Okay. Um, some of us are in the upper levels, but we still get stuff wrong from time to time. Maybe we got it from a different source, and it's for somebody else. Um, okay. Number 5 here: never, ever, ever diagnose medical or psychological conditions with or prescribe medical treatment or the avoidance of treatment without consulting a licensed practitioner. That can get you into so much trouble. Uh, you may have heard of a psychic healer by the name of who went by the name John of God. He was from Brazil, and he did these miraculous healings all over. And he was on Oprah's show and all these other big things, and doing these so-called healings. Well, he was found out to be a fraud, and as a result, because of injuries that were caused to the people he was supposedly healing, as well as in some cases, he would put his hands on the people to do the healing in areas where you shouldn't put your hands. Uh, Between charges of rape and abuse and fraud, he's currently serving over 600 years of consecutive sentences in a Brazilian prison. So never, ever go beyond your scope of practice. If you're not a licensed physician, don't practice medicine, period. You can say, I detect an imbalance or, something's not quite right on the left side of your body. And maybe you want to have that checked out by your doctor. That's fine. But don't try to prescribe or diagnose. Number 6, never try to make it happen. Okay, again, that ideomotor effect. Don't force the rods. Don't force the pendulum. Don't try to make a result because you think it'll make somebody feel better that you found something. Okay. Number 7, never think that you're the only one. There's always somebody else who's as good or better than you. Okay. And there's always somebody who will come up with a different result than you. That's fine. It's what we are. Okay. And finally, always maintain confidentiality and privacy. You'll note in all of the accounts that I've talked about today, I told you the region where these things happen. I never gave you an address. I never gave you a name. I never identified anything more than that. And I do in my books because I've gotten written permission from those people to use their information. So um, otherwise, you can get in trouble for slander, libel, defamation of character, invasion of privacy. There's a lot of different things that can really give you a lot of problems. in the future. So um, I do want to say a couple of things. We've kind of run a little over here. Um, here. You can get a lot more information about me and the work that I do in my books, uh, Connections, A Journey to Understanding, and Connections to, if I can get these to the camera, there we go. The Gathering, okay? These are available at Barnes& and Noble, Books A Million, Amazon, of course. And of course, at a lot of events that we go to, I will have signed copies of my books available there too. Again, go to my website. That's www.frankschotel.com. And you can get all that information in the seminars and events pages. Let me just kick that up for you here quickly so you can get that information and find out more about me, find out more about the work that I do and offer, and classes and what have you. And also that Frank at frankschotel.com, please feel free to use it. Send me an email, send me or call me or leave me a text or a voicemail and ask me your questions, and I'll do my best to try to answer and get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. Okay. And okay, Tick, if we have any last minute questions before we wrap up and send these nice folks, to bed.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Because I'm going to start turning into a pumpkin pretty soon.
Yeah.
Going back to an earlier question that Tammy had when you had your devices out there,
Hmm.
you actually use your devices on the spirit chart for dowsing with spirits, and also how safe is a Ouija board?
How safe is a Ouija board? Oh, yeah. Um, on any device that you use, it's dependent on the intention that you put into the device. I actually personally witnessed a Ouija board spontaneously burst into flames. And the reason it did that was because the people who were using it had such strong emotional intent. They wanted something dramatic to happen so bad that they forced the energy into the board. And what happened was I could see that they were getting way out of whack, and so I grabbed the board away from them and I threw it toward a brick wall. And when it struck the wall, it sparked a little bit, and the board burst into flame. Um, and But it wasn't evil or energy from the board. It was their energy imparted into the board. The same thing with pendulum or divining rods or any of the tools that we use. We impart our energy into it to facilitate it. These are tools that we use. A hammer can't drive a nail unless you take your hand and hold it and you know use it to drive that nail. So set your intention first. Again, the Ouija board is not an evil device. It's our expectation of evil and awful things happening that we impart into it, and we get what we receive what we perceive. Okay, does that help?
Thank you, thank you. Um, have you ever found any UFOs or UAPs in your spirit work?
I don't do a lot of work with uh, extraterrestrial beings, although I do a lot of work with extraterrestrial beings because any entity that's not physically on the plane is extraterrestrial. Okay, when people say, "Oh, I believe in this religion and I follow this religion so closely," and they say that there are no extraterrestrial beings, and my God, my divine entity told me so. Where's your divine entity? He's up there in heaven. You mean he's not here on ground? No, he's up there. So he's extraterrestrial. So anything that is not physically bound to the planet is an extraterrestrial. Do I believe there are entities or beings on other planets? Absolutely. Anybody who, and I know many scientists. I have friends who are rocket scientists at NASA, um, and any scientist will tell you that for us to assume that we are the end all and be all is a very arrogant human characteristic. And uh, the possibility of other species and other life is astronomical. Just within this galaxy, I think there's something like 50,000 possible planets that could sustain what we consider to be life. So, is there something out there? Absolutely. I don't spend a lot of time investigating UFO phenomenon or uh, what is it? Um, uh,
JP.
yeah, IPs and or UAPs or cryptids. Okay, are there cryptids? Is there Bigfoot? Is there Chupacabra? Is there other beings? They just found out that the Tasmanian devil is not extinct. It's back. They've actually found them and photographed them. A primatologist who I was listening to just recently just came back from Madagascar and discovered a new species of primate that was unknown, completely unknown. This was just a couple of years ago. So we're constantly finding new species and new beings that are right there among us that we didn't even know. Could there be other things? Absolutely, there could be. Okay. How's that?
Thank you. There was something that came up about uh, clearing uh, places at a distance, lifting at a distance.
Yes, 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 absolutely. It can be done. I think it's more satisfying for me as a physical person to be physically present when I do that. But no, I do readings for clients all the time over Zoom, uh, all over the world, and they're every bit as effective as if I were standing right in front of them. And this is why, right here. Okay, here is a device that I can use to speak to anybody in the world. Right? Where's the cord? Where's the connection? It's energy. It's energy being passed from one device to another, from one person through the device to another person. So the same thing with our uh, paranormal abilities. We can use those at distance. My wife is an energy healer. She's worked with teaching hospitals. She's worked with the VA, with trauma patients, and she does a lot of her work remotely. Again, it's the energy and that we connect with the other person, with the other location, and we can do very effective work without having to physically be right there. Great question.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, just to,
Let's do one more and then we can send Tick to bed, okay?
uh, somebody's asked for you to hold up your device again with the for holding the pendulum.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's all it is. I just took a wire hanger and I bent it into a little stand here so that it can sit on a table and put a little hook on the end of it. Okay. That the ball of the pendulum can set into. Okay. And then and then I can again set this on a table or stand and take my hands away from it so that it's not me moving it. Okay. And again, I also have the one in the plastic tub. And here I just, oh, let me peel the top off of that. Okay. What I did is I took a couple of metal sticks, actually, again, pieces of coat hanger, and put them across the top here. Okay, let me get my hand out of the way. Across the top, slide the ball of the pendulum in there, and then let it hang down. And I can center that over the spirit board or the yes no board or what have you. Um, And again, these will block off any wind drafts, what have you, and takes away the idiomotor, tendencies to move the pendulum physically without, just our little micro movements. Okay. Okay. Well, folks, thank you so much. I've appreciated this opportunity. Again, please feel free to contact me at any time. And go to my website, which is frankschodl.com, but do that as one word, frankschodl.com, CHODL, Frank, CHODL.com. And you can contact me there and it'll give you more information. And if you want to, set up a reading or a session or whatever, please feel free to contact me and see where it goes.
Well, thank you, Frank, and it's been a pleasure. And thank you all for coming tonight hear Frank's presentation. Once again, thank you all very much, and good night.
Good night.